It was a pretty choppy day out there, but one company that doesn't stop the downside. Hey there, Tamir from FibonacciTraders.com here. Daily market recap, like, subscribe, and let's see the charts. This is how the SPY looks on the 65 minutes. We opened the day April 16th, opened the day and just sideways move between the 502.17 and the 505.80 sideways move. This is how it looks on the daily doji of the 50% retracement. Doji might signal some kind of a bounce back to the 508.50, but we also have this gap at the 497 in my opinion. Until this gap will not get filled, bulls will not reclaim their power back. So in my opinion, and of course it's only my opinion, this gap needs to get filled. Overall, we are still bearish under 65 4 hours daily, but on the weekly we are still bullish, breaking below a weekly close below the 598, and the bullish on the weekly will turn also into bearish. QQQ, super tight price action. This is how it looks on the 65 minutes. Look at this, doji after doji, doji after doji, and sideways move between the 429.80 and the 432.80. This is how it looks on the daily. Doji off this trend line. This trend line identifies the lower lows since middle of February, and we also have a doji off the lower border of this yellow zone, breaking below, and this gap at the 425 will get filled. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, breaking below, and you will see this gap getting filled. Dow Jones 0.2% to the upside, holding above the 376. Look left, the 376 area from resistance, tough resistance, now holding a support. We are still bearish on all time frames on the Dow Jones. IWM 0.4%, almost to the downside, broke below the 195 with a doji. Maybe we'll get some kind of a bounce, retesting the 198.50, the lower border of the yellow zone, as resistance. It was resistance over here, support, broke to the downside, doji might signal a trend reversal, back retesting this yellow zone as resistance, and then next leg down back to the 190 area. Bitcoin, let's clean the chart a little bit. You know these lines, you know this green line, the 61,600 still holding as support. 4 consecutive days already. Bulls of Bitcoin knows that once this green line will break to the downside, it's all over, because we will see the yellow zone at the 52 and the 50 getting retested as support. Ethereum also to the downside, as long as Ethereum is below this middle trend line inside this downtrend channel, the way is down, holding above the 618 retracement. Look at this, from all this uptrend, Ethereum already gave back 61.8%. Now it's a little bit above the 50% retracement, but we are in a downtrend until proven otherwise. KRE slowly grinding down to close this gap at the 44.23. Nothing much on the KRE except downtrend, and you can also put the FTI on your chart. That will give you automatically support, resistance areas. Look at this, the 45.50. Why price is here? Because it was a very tough area of resistance, now getting retested as support. Magnificent 7 MAGS is the ETF. Sell signal, bearish on the 65 on the 4 hours and on the daily, still bullish on the weekly, but breaking below and inside the yellow zone, below the 38, inside the yellow zone, and we are going to fill the gap at the 36.50. SOXX, the semiconductors ETF, 0.76 to the upside, green day, but overall, look at this. Trend lines are the true support resistance for price action. You know these both of these white trend lines. We drew them few days back as support. Now this area from support to resistance, and SOXX continues sliding down inside the green channel, the green downtrend channel, and on this lower border of the downtrend channel. Next support is the lower border of the yellow zone at the 211.44. We are below the 50% retracement. Don't forget, SOXX have this gap at the 204. The FTI gives us also not only support resistance, it also helps us to identify gaps. XLF breaking below the yellow zone, going to the 39.20, bearish on the XLF on all time frames. XLF lost since end of March already almost 6.5%. Next is the 39.20 and then back to the 38.25. XLU breaking down each and every day that goes by. Also broke inside the yellow zone, now hanging above the 50% retracement. The 50% retracement, very important area. Look at here, was support, resistance, support, now also support, breaking down and under. No need to break your head. We know that the next support is a 61.80 and then 60.80 and 59 to the downside. Overall bearish on XLU on all time frames. Like, subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell because we are going live every day 8:29 in the morning, New York time, Eastern time, preparing together for the next trading day. So join me, hit the like and the notification bell so you won't miss also any other future videos. Apple with 2% to the downside, and here we are back below this trend line, back retesting the 168 area. Look at this, the 168 area on Apple is like a magnet on Apple, breaking below, and we will see 160, 150 and then 153, and then we have this gap. This gap, in my opinion, needs to get filled before, and if bulls of Apple wants to regain their power back, maybe before Apple's earnings. Let me know in the comments below, when do you think this gap will get filled, and if even it will get filled before or after Apple's earnings. AMD with 2% to the upside, but look at this, hanging above the 162 area, holding strong. Bulls of AMD knows that if they will give up on this red line, next will be the 148. Overall, we are inside a very steep downtrend channel and bearish on all important time frames for swing traders. This area, the 158, 163, very important area of support. Below it, 149 gap incoming. Nvidia closed the day on the green side with 1.6%, but overall, look at this, Nvidia is inside a downtrend channel. We can put the FTI on our chart. Now the 895 is the resistance. It was resistance, support, resistance. Next support is the 834 together with the gap at the 823. Mixed signals also on multi-time frames, which means nothing much on Nvidia. If you want to go long on Nvidia, this is not the time. You need to wait for at least, in my opinion, a weekly close above the 896. Meta closed the day basically almost on the zero. Doji off a trend line. Look at this trend line, this uptrend channel is still holding. Doji, maybe we are in for some kind of a pullback, bounce back to the upside, retesting the 511, breaking above, closing the week above the 511, 513, and then we can say Meta is out of the woods. Tesla, look at this, the chart speaks for itself. Look at this price action, super nasty price action on Tesla. This is how Tesla looks on the 65 minutes. Gap to the downside, sideways move, and all this area, the 158 now on the intraday, is a very tough resistance. Can Meta close the gap at the 161? We closed overall, we closed with the doji, but as we said in the past few weeks, few months already, Tesla is on its way to close the gap at the 145. Overall, Tesla looking very, very bad since beginning of 2024, since the peak of December. Meta already lost 42%. Ladies and gentlemen, Tesla is the weakest stock, in my opinion, of all the Magnificent Seven. And on the Qs, Microsoft 0.2%, but with a doji holding above the 413 area, bearish on all time frames except the weekly, because on the weekly, zoom out, you can still see higher lows, higher highs, breaking below the 413, and we will see this gap at the 405 and then a touch at the 402, and this bullish on the weekly will turn into bearish. MicroStrategy, another 6% to the downside. We have been talking about this downside on MicroStrategy since the peak of March. Now below the 1327. Next support is the 1170 and then 1030. Overall, MicroStrategy is on its way to the downside until proven otherwise. Google closed the day with a doji hanging inside the uptrend channel. Overall, Google looks pretty good, pretty healthy. Now we can put the FTI on our chart inside the yellow zone. Let's see Google breaking above the yellow zone, breaking below this trend line, below the 153, below the 50% retracement. We will see 140.51 and then 149, and then this gap. Again, the FTI helps us identify gaps to the upside, to the downside. It doesn't matter, just one click away. Put this amazing tool and it will help you make smarter, better, almost emotionless decisions, and you will see results almost immediately. Palantir, PLTR. We are talking about Palantir in the past few weeks. Palantir is still inside a downtrend channel, now at the 21.23. Next is the 1976, below 1976. This gap will get filled. We can clean the chart, put the FTI, and it will give us everything that we need. We can add also on the FTI, we can add trend lines, and look at this. Downtrend channel, bearish on all time frames, sell signal. What else do we need to understand there is no buying on PLTR now? No long, in my opinion. Everything you see and hear on my videos is, on my opinion only, based on 7 years plus of experience and with the help of this magnificent tool, the FTI. Overall, it's only my idea. Do your own due diligence. PLTR, we have been talking about this head and shoulders, if you want, since, I don't know, since 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. And slowly grinding down inside this downtrend channel until it will close the gap at the 18. Amazon, nothing much of a price action. Overall, Amazon is inside an uptrend channel, holding barely above the yellow zone. This is why we got a sell signal. It doesn't mean we need to go short on Amazon. It just means, look at here, we also have bearish on the 65 4 hours daily. It just means that if we are already long on Amazon, maybe it's time to say goodbye to the long for now and wait for at least bullish on the daily and also bullish on the 4 hours. For now, Amazon is holding. Let's see if Amazon can close the week above the 184. Netflix. Let's clean the chart. Too much noise on the chart. Put the FTI. This is all we need. We can make the Fibonacci a little bit wider. Now, look at this. Holding above the yellow zone. This is why we are still bullish on all time frames except on the daily. Why not on the daily? Because the FTI helps us identify this resistance, this area of resistance. The 630 is a very tough area of resistance. So the FTI helps us to identify that for now, if we are trading swing traders on the daily chart, this is not the time to go long. We need patience. SMCI 10.6% to the upside, but we are still inside a short-term downtrend channel. Long continuation only above the 984. Above the 984, look at this. Fibonacci and trend lines. The true support resistance for price action. Overall, one candle, and it doesn't matter how big, how strong this candle is. In this case, 10.6% to the upside, but we are still in a downtrend. Always look at the border and the wider trend. And for now, the trend on SMCI is to the downside. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, like, subscribe. Don't forget, 8:29 Eastern Time, we're going live pre-market preparations. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening.